You've been over there for a while. You're getting really comfortable. You planning on coming back?
It's funny you should ask. I guess this is as good a time as any. No, I'm not. Actually, and this was also something that I could not have predicted. I have officially been placed on the list for candidates for the Vicariat in the Evangelische Landeskirche Baden, and that is the 2.5-year full-time training program for pastors at German state churches. So, in other words, I will be ordained, God willing, following the completion of my doctorate and this vicariat. The other thing is, I am, as of a week ago, so this is certainly fresh news, no longer denominationally Lutheran. Baden is not a Lutheran church, it is united, which means fully and a hybrid of Lutheran and Reformed. And it actually fits my dissertation in a sense because of all this Karl Barth stuff. So the way they ordain their pastors is they ordain them on the three great creeds, the Apostles, the Nicene, and the Athanasian. The Augsburg Confession, I was very happy about that. The Augsburg Confession, Luther's Small Catechism. Now get this. The Heidelberg Catechism of 1563, which is a classic text of Reformed theology. I think the best of Reformed theology is in the Heidelberg Catechism, by the way. This is also Moltmann's influence. And then the final one, which for me is the most important, is the Barmen Declaration, of which Karl Barth was the principal author in 1934. And that was the confessing church in Germany's refutation of the German Christians who were cooperating with Hitler. And Moltmann himself actually was ordained on the Barmen Declaration. So he is very happy that I will be as well. I never would have seen, I thought there may be a possibility that I would seek ordination over here as I saw my German getting better, as I saw myself liking the area. I didn't see myself leaving Lutheranism. I really didn't. But I did figure out that my theology was no longer just Lutheran. Moltmann is Reformed, for instance, and I noticed over these 2 years that my own thinking, and really 4 years since I met Linda Thomas at LSTC, I noticed myself broadening beyond what I might call confessional Lutheranism. And so it was a question for me, what was I going to do with that? I wasn't planning on seeking ordination in the ELCA, but then I thought, well, maybe I'd go back because I started there. I started 10 years ago. That's why I did an MDiv, was to get ordained there. But then I wanted to go on in theology. And Baden, and this actually was Professor Lepine's suggestion. Well, it began, actually, my friend Angela, who's going to be my roommate, she had suggested last year to me in passing, not only Baden, but a couple of other churches. So I want to name that. But Professor Lepine actually got this ball rolling. He talked to the son of somebody at the synod who talked to somebody else, and I sent an email, and 2 weeks later I was on that list. And it was just like, okay, that's a Holy Spirit moment, because I had previously, sorry, I can give you, maybe I'll give you a chance to respond. You're looking a bit shocked.
That's all just awesome, and it doesn't. Congratulations! It's not terribly surprising because it seems like such a good fit for you, and it doesn't seem like you're abandoning Lutheranism so much as you're adding more tools to your toolbox to be able to broaden your theology. And it should be a bigger tent than any one narrow view anyway. That's why you're studying all of these theologians and everything, so that you have more to work with as you make your progress. Now, this is all very exciting, and it sounds like a good fit for you too. So
Yes, I have been pleasantly surprised. In March, I did try for the Landeskirche in Württemberg, which is a Lutheran community. Frankly, I was going to have some problems being an LGBT person in Württemberg. That is arguably the most conservative, of the state churches in Germany. I have a habit of finding them somehow. I'm not sure, but that's just the way it goes. And I really, thought about it. And I really want to say, Professor Lepine, as well as many of my close friends, were all saying, are you sure this is what you want? Is this the place you're going to thrive? And it was sort of a hard thing for me to say, because it was like, well, yeah, I'm a Lutheran, all my training was Lutheran. It makes sense to go to a Lutheran church, but I don't really, I don't so much feel that way theologically anymore. I feel like I'm shaped by Luther's Theologia Crucis, and that is I don't know, I sort of see reality that way, but I'm not so worried about what denomination it comes from, if that makes sense. I learned Theologia Crucis from Luther, but I can easily find that in Barth or in Karl Rahner, who is Roman Catholic, or in some of the ancient mystics, or not ancient, but Middle Ages mystics. So I've really seen that that's an ecumenical thing. And I almost want to dare to say, I think I have a commonality with Eric Gritsch here. And I mean this seriously, because I was thinking about his Luther biography, which I think it was one of the first I read of Luther. And he talks about Luther and ecumenism there. And I think it was Bonnie Brobst who told me that Gritsch always loved Karl Barth, and that he taught at Gettysburg. I don't know. I almost wonder if the states had a united church like they do in certain communities here, if Gritsch himself would not have been united. It's an interesting question, but you all knew him better than I did. But I have been thinking about him recently.
Well, the whole Gritsch Fund is all about ecumenicalism and working together and finding common ground in the Protestant faiths and everything. Mm-hmm. And kind of theologians that you've studied, people like Cohn and Barth, I mean, they were all about, being bridging those things. So the direction you're going in, that's sort of, I'd like to see you in that sort of role, that you're bridging the gap between some of these philosophies that really have more in common than people give them credit for. So this is a good thing.
Sure. And I do think this is obviously the first time that I've talked about this with an American Lutheran organization. I did announce it publicly, but I do want to make clear now that it's being recorded, so for posterity's sake, you've got the evidence. I know that I will take my formation as a Lutheran with me to Baden. I know that. I mean, that's why it was, and I told Dr. Maltman this too on Wednesday. That's why it was important to me that the Augsburg Confession is a part of the confessions that pastors in Baden are ordained on. That was very important to me, and they understand the Augsburg Confession as sort of the ground Reformation confession. And I really, I've always said, I told my friend Angela this last summer. We were sitting in the old town and we were having these lovely drinks called Aperols. I don't know if they have Aperols in the States, but they have them here. We were having one, and I made this comment. I said, wherever Christians gather around the Augsburg Confession, there I am at home, whether that is Lutheran or not. And I've had some excellent discussions with Luther scholars from the LCMS. Now, it is a younger generation of Luther scholars, admittedly. So, but even there, I found it. And there's something about Although for my own theology, I would say the Barman Declaration with its explicit Christocentrism has become perhaps more important to me existentially. I think that would be correct. The Augsburg Confession is a root for me, I'm taking my Latin exam translating a passage from the Augsburg Confession, by the way. So it was very important to me that was there, and then that Luther's small catechism was also there. I said, gosh, they picked some of the best of Luther. And some days I might prefer the large catechism, but either one of those documents are some of my favorites from Luther. But they really are united Lutheran and Reformed. It's not. It's a mix. And that's stated in the documents that the pastors are ordained on. And they do not go with either extreme, either Luther's extreme of a bodily presence of Jesus, almost biting off the thumb in the Lord's Supper. That was an overstatement, but it was intentional. Or Zwingli's extreme of, it's a memorial. Christ is present with those elements. And so, if I were to think in Lutheran terms, I would argue the Baden Church is a realization of the Wittenberg Concord in the 1530s. I think that would be the one. I mean, Luther wasn't so happy with it, as I remember, but it really was a step. And the language that the Reformed and the Lutherans present could agree on was the language of with those elements, Christ is present. And so I'm really excited theologically about those possibilities. I'm delighted to be, that I will become part of a church fully accepting 100% on a structural level, without question, of LGBT people. Now, there may be individual communities that may think otherwise. I mean, perhaps there always are, but on a structural level, absolutely 100%. This is good in the eyes of God. That's what I was told. That was very exciting for me. I was rather stunned from that, and I am placed on the same list as any German theology student. I was not treated as a foreigner. I have to bring a C1 German language certificate, which, by the way, means I need to be fluent by March 2023, but hopefully I get there. But I was not asked to do any extra hoops or something like that. It was a welcome to Baden.
It really seems like you have grown into this situation. One of my favorite expressions, and I know it's been said in different ways, is that luck is the point where skill and opportunity meet. And that has always been important to me. And what's going on with you is, it sounds like a perfect example of that. You came out there with some skills, you grew those skills, you basically became the kind of person that was a good fit for what was to be offered to you. And so, it was you became the right person at the right time when the right position came along. And it just sounds like it worked out it's working out really well. And we're so happy that that you're prospering over there when
Thanks.
the world is in such a state right now.
Well, right. And it's not to say that, every day's just great and wonderful. And, there's certainly been a lot of trials and tribulations. As of today, I have 198 pages of the dissertation written. Couldn't quite get those last 2 to 200. I tried, but I couldn't quite get there before today. And I do think I'm coming along in that regard, but there certainly have been some hard days. So I don't want to, I don't want to appear falsely optimistic, but I would say I'm deeply joyful that things are working out, and particularly the future of being ordained in Baden is really is really important. I would not have seen this, but I never would have guessed that Jürgen Moltmann would be my doctoral advisor, certainly not at now 95. So, you know.
So how about future travel? Do you plan to come back to visit? Do you plan to see other parts of Europe or other parts of the world in the near future at all? Are you all focused on this new direction right now, or?
Well, in the moment, I'm focused on getting the doctorate. I need to be a doctor of theology, and I need to have a C1 German language certificate so that I can come to Baden and begin the vicariat. However, yes, I would love to at some point come back to the States for a visit. I haven't been back. Now, part of that has to do with becoming a poor doctoral student. Part of that also has to do with a pandemic. So these two things were perhaps working against me. But I would like to come back for a visit to the States at some point. I now have no material possessions anymore in the States. I even gave my cats up, which was very, very hard, but it didn't make sense to fly them over to Germany when one was turning 9 and the other one had epilepsy, which she caught in the last couple of years. I thought that was just not going to work. And I gave my library away in the States to a friend of mine from LSTC, keeping only a few, and I do mean a few, things that I thought would be very, very difficult to replace. So I had no material things there. Everything I own fits in my room that I'm trying to disassemble and then clean, which is the part I'm not looking forward to. But yeah, I would like to come back. As far as seeing other places in Europe, I do want to go to the Karl Barth archives in Switzerland. I really, really want to go there. Maltman wants me to make a Luther trip. I haven't been to Wittenberg or to the Wartburg. Just time really was the thing that did it. And so he thinks I should make a Reformation trip. So I'll probably do that.
That's not an if, that's a when.
Well, that's a win, yes. But I mean, I have Tübingen. I'm already in heaven. But yes, yeah, I definitely want to do that. And I want to see, I want to see Wittenberg. I want to see Geneva. And where's the other? And Zurich. Right, so Luther, Calvin, and Zwingli. By the way, I'm reading Calvin's Institutes in the mornings now, and this is how I know that I've become united, because I love it. And I was avoiding Calvin.
Last time, how you were just starting to read Calvin, that you had gone all of this time without a whole lot of Calvin.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I was reading the biography of Calvin that Professor Lapine recommended to me. It was a stunning book. I love that book. I'm going to get one of his colleagues at Yale, Bruce Gordon, has a book on Calvin as well that I'm going to pick up. But now then I was reading about Calvin, and that was the first way that I was trying to sort of reclaim him from conservative evangelicalism. Now I'm actually reading Calvin, and I'm reading Otto Weber's German translation of the Institutes, because Otto Weber was Dr. Maltmann's doctoral advisor. And so I said, I want to read the edition of my academic grandfather. I'm certainly not going to slog through the Latin. So why not read it in German? And it's delightful. I said, God, he's a genius and he's logical.
It's just so great to hear that you've got so much to look forward to. You've got goals over there. There are, there's a lot to. There's a lot of reasons to get up in the morning and to look forward to, a bright future. I'm so glad. I know you're on a time frame today.
Unfortunately, Chronos is my enemy today. Generally, it's not in the evenings, but today it is.
But we really appreciate you taking this time and letting us know about some of these big changes coming up and some of the some of the excitement in your life. And thanks for sharing. And I hope we get to talk to you in the near future once things settle down. We want to hear, when you've got your doctorate.
Yes.
About when some of your writings. We're going to want to know about how it's like being a pastor over there.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I'm looking forward to that as well. I will definitely keep you informed as all that develops.
This is a really good example of how small things that you do for other people sometimes just set off a chain of dominoes. I mean, a little, who knows, maybe without the $5,000 scholarship, you might not
I
have
might not have gone here. That's right.
there. I mean, look at how, a small thing can change someone's life so much. And then
That's right.
you're faced with people over there and you start changing their lives. And it's a small round planet and we're all in it together, and
That's
your
right.
organization is just such a great example of that. And we're happy to be a part of it, and we're happy that you're sharing it with us now and all of that.
Yes, and again, I remain deeply grateful that it is the Gritsch Fund that started this for me. I didn't know how I would pay for my first semester. At that time, it wasn't my first semester; it was my only semester in Tübingen, and you all made that possible for me. So for that, I am deeply grateful.
Well, your ingenuity and your drive and your vision has taken you the rest of the way. And thank you very much for sharing. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, definitely. And greetings from Tübingen.
Thanks, Brach.
Thanks.